Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Mindset and Muscle podcast. I'm your host, Keshi. And today we're going to be talking about getting out of your comfort zone, especially what I learned from doing the Canadian Firearms Safety Course or the PAL course, as some of you might know it as. So that's basically the course in Canada to get your firearms license, your unrestricted one, and then there's a restricted course that I'm taking early January as well. But anyway, so I'm not going to go into detail about what I learned in that course per se. I'm obviously going to talk about some of it to explain my point for today, but this episode is really about getting out of your comfort zone because this whole day, the 8 hours of lecture and the exam after, the whole time was truly deeply uncomfortable for me. But it was also uncomfortable in a really good way that allowed me to already feel more confident in I won't divulge too much right now, but it was a whole day of being absolutely scared out of my mind and uncomfortable and yeah, all those feelings. So let's get right into it and just talking about those feelings. The first thing is that I was very well aware of all the feelings I had throughout the day and of all the ants. What are ants, you might ask? I heard that in another podcast, actually. I don't even remember who said it, but ants are automatic negative thoughts. And some of those thoughts were the first one, I'm the only girl here. And that just the thought itself is fine. But when I'm thinking it like that in a course about guns, and I'm thinking I'm the only girl here, the feeling is a feeling of being inadequate. And the thing is, I showed up there dressed like I normally do, which is very feminine. So I was wearing like a bow in my hair, and I was wearing a pink like a pink jacket and my pink purse and everything. Just literally what I bring everywhere. But there it just felt like so girly in that situation. And I was fine with just that. I At no point did I think that I should have worn something different or anything. I was just kind of like, oh, okay. I expected there to be at least one other girl or two, but the class wasn't very big. Maybe there were like 20 people in total. But yeah, but being the only girl there was a little bit like, whoa, okay. I didn't know that. Actually, one of the instructors was a woman, so that did help. But I meant like people who didn't know much, or I hoped like didn't know that much. Actually, maybe what I hoped was that there would be another girl there who knew about guns, who was shooting since she was little, so that then it didn't feel like I didn't know things because I was a girl, but more because I didn't grow up like that, like having parents who hunt or things like that. So that's why I didn't know. I think that's more of what was going on in my mind, but clearly I was overthinking it, if you can understand what was going on in my mind there. And that happened for that all of those thoughts happen very quickly too, but that really kind of happened when you're the only girl there. Sometimes you feel like you have to prove yourself, whereas if there was somebody else who knew what they were doing, I would be fine not knowing. But yeah, I had a moment of thinking I should prove myself here or it's going to be embarrassing. But then I kind of like let that thought go, that it's not my responsibility to be proving myself here. I just need to learn. I'm here to learn and to do that course to get my license. Anyway, that was one thought. The other one, a lot of the guys there were also white, very Alberta guys. If you live in Alberta or if you know what I mean, Alberta is like the Texas of Canada. So some of them are wearing cowboy boots, or just in general, they look like either they grew up on a farm or they grew up hunting. So one way or another, they looked like they were holding guns since they were like 6 years old. So that made it a little bit more intimidating, let's just say. The third thought was that guns scare me. Guns scare you, Kashi. You've been to a shooting range once and you were very scared there. You don't actually remember how to do everything, because you had to listen to each step when it was happening, because you was so scared to remember the whole thing. So you had to be like, I had and I'm saying you because I was telling myself that. But I went to a shooting range once and I loved it. I loved the experience, but even just walking in, that person was like warning us about listening. But then he said something about, yeah, like, gotta listen, or because you don't want to go home with a bloody finger. That, like, it was my first time there. I was like, why would I go home with a bloody finger? Now I can't listen to anything else. I'm just completely, like, very nervous, very scared. Like, am I gonna actually lose a finger or something? Like, everything going on in my mind at that time. And I didn't, obviously. And it was fine. I had fun. But then, like, all of me kept telling me that was you under full supervision. What makes you think you can shoot a gun without somebody right there basically holding your hand through it? So guns scare me. That was going through my head too. Now at this point, a lot of you might be asking, why did I even do that course? Because I got a lot more interest in guns this year. So this was definitely because I was dating somebody in the army. So that's 100% why. But because before I just didn't think about them. That's the thing. But then, like, with him, I went to the shooting range once, in West Edmonton Mall. But then also he mentioned, I think he only mentioned that once, that he would teach me how to shoot at some point. And then I got so excited. And then like, I think throughout those months that we were together, a bunch of times I actually asked him when he'll be able to teach me to shoot. And then he would tell me, for example, we need to find a gun that's not going to have too much recoil. Because when I was at West Edmonton Mall, for example, a big thing was that I was getting the recoil was a lot for me from a lot of those guns. So I need something that's appropriate for me to start at least. But anyway, so just having that one experience and hearing about guns, just seeing it, holding it, just this in general, kind of being around people who care more about it, or who are, you know, how some guys are very into cars, so they're going to talk about cars, or if these always going to be like on, not Facebook Marketplace then, but like auto trade auto, oh, whatever it is, the name of the website, but always being on there to look at the deals and things like that. Even my uncles are like this. But anyway, um, I feel like maybe guys in the army are like that for guns, or maybe that was just that person and his roommate. But they were like, they just knew a lot about it, and you know, if they found like an interesting in anything about guns, that would like excite them. And I don't know, that was very, like, I was kind of becoming very, like, this idea of shooting a gun became more and more appealing, basically. And that didn't stop. Like, and even now, like, I'm still super interested in it. And what I got more of an interest when I started thinking about how I would love to do some sport shooting and target shooting. Because since I was little, my aim has always been terrible. So darts or anything like this. But then I was never interested in learning that thing to like, I wanted to get better at, like, with my aim, but then I don't care about darts and things like that. I wanted to get better at my aim, but I didn't care about, I don't know. I don't even remember other things that I've tried. But like, none of those really interested me. However, with the guns, I actually wanted to both feel like, I felt like such a baddie holding that gun and shooting that gun at that range. That confidence was exceptional, even if I didn't know what I was doing. Um, and also learning to basically better be able to aim and shoot and get my target. Like, that really excited me. I'm going on such a long tangent now, but that's why I decided to do this course and get my license, because although they scare me, my interest in them grew so much that it was more than this scary thing. But I still knew nothing about it. I still didn't even know what the parts were named. Some of the parts of the gun were named, or the difference between a rifle and a shotgun. Actually, even after this course, I feel like I had to do some research to learn more about this. But I didn't know anything. So when we were doing introductions, some of the people were saying they've been shooting 12 gauge guns and things like that, and I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like everybody else seemed to know, but I had no idea what that meant. So yeah, guns scare me. In, also, like just like physically, like am I gonna be able to be safe with that? Am I gonna be able to load it properly? Like what if I don't know how to load it? What if, like, I don't know, just all of it. The whole idea was very intimidating to me. And I was also thinking, I'm not sure I can do this. Like, who do I think I am that I could do this? And again, that I don't have any experience with guns. I went to a shooting range and then I held another gun like at another point, but that was it. In my introduction, that's what I said. Like I went to a shooting range once and then held a gun. Like I don't even know. I think it was. I don't even know if it was a rifle or a shotgun. Actually, I think it was a semi-automatic something something. But I don't know. But I remember it being a really cool gun that I held. But again, that's kind of all the experience I had. So very uncomfortable to say the least. Now during the, and that was just before the course started. That was all the thoughts. Now during that course, I thought even more things. I don't think I can pass this course, first of all. As they're teaching me stuff, I learned so much that day because I went there knowing nothing. And I would say like it's maybe would have been better if I prepped a little before. I didn't know if I had to. But I just went there knowing absolutely nothing, and everything they were throwing at me, even since like page one, it took so much mental energy to kind of assimilate it because I knew nothing. And the exam, and to pass it, they said it's 80%. We have to get 80% or higher on both sections. So the written one and the practical one. And it's not like a blended average. You have to get 80% or higher on each one. So while they're explaining, I'm not getting the material, which is also another thought that I'm having. Like I don't understand that exactly. And I was getting like little pieces of the puzzle. They just weren't being put together until later. But I was so confused with the terms that they were throwing at us. And they were doing a great job at explaining. I'm just gonna say that I don't want it to seem like they were actually going too fast or things like that. They were not. I just want to reiterate that I just knew nothing at all. So then they did the first demo, and I was like, what the hell? They went through it, and by the time she was done, I was like, I don't remember a step. I do not know what she just did. And then it was our turn to go, and there were maybe like 5 guns or something on the table, or like 7 for the 20 of us. So some of us were waiting kind of in line, so there were people around still. There were people next to me, and I just stood in front of the gun, and I had no idea what to do. No idea. I'm not even exaggerating. I didn't know. Like I was like, I guess I could hold it, but like, what do I do? Like they talked about safety. They talked about like all of those things, and there was no, at this point there was no ammo. Like it was an unloaded gun, but we did have to open it and to kind of just do everything to make sure it's unloaded, basically just checking that. I didn't know. I didn't know what to do. They were talking about the different types of of um of guns. Basically, they were like, okay, well, this one is a lever action, this one is a bolt action, this one is a semi-automatic, this one is like a hinge or whatever. And I understood that at some point, like theory wise, and then I looked at it and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm getting like this one is like a pump action one, so I kind of get the difference. But then when it was my turn to actually use it, I was like, I don't actually know like how to use that. So the lady actually helped me throughout the course so much. Like she saw how much I was struggling. Yeah. So kind of every gun, some people just figured it out, some people just knew, but every gun I had to have her assistance to actually show me how to use it. At least once, sometimes more. Anyway, so like I said, it took me so much mentally to be completely focused and try to grasp everything they were saying, all the terms. Some people, some terms that people just knew. Again, I didn't know what parts of the gun was. They were throwing terms like caliber, gauge, bolt, magazine. I remember the time where I did not actually even know the difference between ammunition and bullet. And I remember asking my ex-boyfriend that to kind of explain it to me, and he did, and I kind of got it. But still there at that course, I had a feeling of I have an idea of the difference, but not exactly. Like for me that's the same thing. But anyway, so I didn't know anything. Um like I said, didn't even know, like they were saying this is a rifle, this is a shotgun. I didn't know which one I would want to use, or I needed to know the difference because I want to know which one I need. I want to know which one I want I want to use, and if I want to go into target shooting, like which, because they were talking about, like for me shotguns, while they were talking I was like, oh, that looks like what people use for hunting. So I'm not going to go hunting. So does that mean I have to use a rifle? But also there were some things called hunting rifles. So I was like, well, is everything just for hunting? Like what do I use for, like, I know there's some competitions, but just in general sport shooting. And I know a lot of those have like handguns and things like this, but I can't own a handgun because that would be prohibited in Canada. Um yeah, just not. I was gonna go deeper into that. Even the restricted handguns, if I get my license and would be able to use, I still can't own it at this point. So for me, there's no point is in really getting my license if I would only be able to use like hunting stuff, like, and I wouldn't be able to go target shooting because that's what I want to do again. I want just to have it as a hobby. Some people might be like, this is a really weird hobby. It's a really cool one. Just gonna say that. Makes you feel really badass. Anyway, so like I said, I didn't even know how to open the gun, the different ways of loading it. I couldn't even put, when we got to the ammunition, I didn't even know how to put it in there, and then my nails weren't helping. Um, so my confidence was, and I'm saying my nails weren't helping because she told me your nails aren't helping. But anyway, my confidence was so low at this point in terms of that. Like I wanted to learn, but I felt very, I felt discouraged, but at the same time I didn't allow myself to stay in that state. Like I kept telling myself I can do this. And listen, the only reason that I was able to continuously tell myself, you can do this, is because I have proof after proof of things I've done that weren't comfortable, that were hard, that I didn't think I could do, but was able to do them. So it's important that you build this track record of things, this pile of things that also you thought you were not able to accomplish, that were very uncomfortable, but you went through it and you walked. How do you walk through a fire? You just walk straight through it. But again, you're walking through that fire. That was my fire for the day, but I walked through it. And then, for example, now this is adding on to my list of things that I thought I probably couldn't do, but was able to successfully do. So next time that I have this same thought, I'm going to remember that day where when I didn't know anything about guns, didn't know how to hold it, didn't know nothing about it. And I still did really well. So by the end of it, I have, like, the knowledge I had by the end of it, and even just the skill of handling guns was so much better. So yeah, I already kind of went through that, but all of those thoughts that I had, all of those negative thoughts, could be asking, could be making somebody ask themselves or ask me, then why are you there? Because even though I had all those thoughts, like I said that briefly, but what I knew deep inside me was that I wanted to shoot a gun and I wanted to do it well, because shooting a gun made me feel so powerful and so empowered and again so badass, and I just want to do it, and that immense discomfort was what would bridge that gap between me not knowing anything still and remaining in that state, which was uncomfortable. So me not knowing how to shoot a gun was uncomfortable for me. For most people, they might not even think about it, but for me, because I just wanted it so bad, it was uncomfortable, like a 3 out of 10. But I knew the regret was starting to pile up of me not, like, the more time that I'm letting kind of go by without changing that I can't to I can, the regrets I think got to like an 8 out of 10. And I'm just saying regret because I'm not finding a better word. Like, I don't really have much that I regret in my life. Not at all. I don't think there's really anything. So it's not like, maybe a better word, I should have used a better word in that case, but I just mean like that feeling of getting more and more disappointed maybe in myself. That disappointment was getting to a 6 out of 10 and it would only grow. However, that discomfort on that day, it was a 10 out of 10 of discomfort. A 10 out of 10. And you might think, well, a 10 out of 10 is greater than that 6 out of 10. So then why did you do it? Because that 10 out of 10 discomfort was only temporary. Whereas this uncomfortable feeling and this disappointment in myself that I'm just not, because the reason I wasn't doing it is because I'm letting those negative thoughts win, and I don't do that. I don't like that. So I knew that it would be it's just for a day. It's 8 hours of discomfort, of intense maybe discomfort, but it's still just 8 hours. Days fly by. But then now, instead of that disappointment or anything, now my confidence went from like a 0 out of 10 or a 1 out of 10 to, like, obviously I'm not a 10 out of 10 confident in it, but it went to maybe a 5 out of 10, which is really good. And that's before I even again went out again and shot and try to shoot a gun. So this weekend I'm actually going to go to the range, and I researched what I need to try or what I should probably try first, and I asked them as well. And then just again from that knowledge, they were like, okay, maybe try a 22 gauge instead of a 12, starting with a 12 gauge or something. So that's probably what I'm gonna try. I also want to try the 223 Remington. I saw that there is another. I kind of also want to try a 12 gauge. I'm gonna be honest. I feel like it's gonna be really hard, but I might leave it until the end of the session. But I saw it there on that website, on that. So basically, I'm gonna go to that indoor shooting range and I'm gonna rent the guns and the ammo and everything. But I saw that there, the 12 gauge, and then there was a country song that also had 12 gauge in it. So I I kind of want to do it. I probably will. But I'll leave it for the very end. So we'll see. We'll see how that goes. I'm a little nervous about this one. But I know that after that day, as I'm so I got a lot of like the technical knowledge, I would say, or a lot more of the theory and kind of learning more about guns. But then going there and actually learning how to properly shoot, now that is going to bring my confidence again slowly. It's going to get to a 5.5, a 6, a 7, 8, until I'm going to get really comfortable with it. But then now my disappointment is only decreasing. Like, I have zero regrets about even the time that I kind of, you might think, wasted, but I didn't waste any time. I just wasn't ready maybe. But when I decided that enough was enough, I'm not thinking about I should have done it sooner. All I'm thinking about is how grateful I am that I actually did that. So the main point of what I wanted to say is that you can't stay in a feeling of slightly uncomfortable or getting more and more uncomfortable forever, for a long time, or whatever. Or you could go through a temporary phase of higher discomfort, of maybe even intense discomfort, but only temporary, and you know it's only going to be temporary, whereas the slight discomfort, it could be forever. But then on the other end of this, You have you being not only comfortable, but you grew from that experience. That growth, that confidence, that just everything. So I highly encourage you to just walk through that fire, straight through it, and go on the other side. If you're going through obstacle, through a wall, go right through it. And again, one, I didn't pretend like I knew what I was doing. Like I didn't pretend when I was there that I had experience and I had physically held high. Like acting cocky. No, I didn't act cocky at all. I asked for help. I asked for help from my instructor. I asked for help from the guy next to me if he knew what he was doing. I asked questions. I didn't stop the class every couple of minutes to ask questions, but maybe when there was a break or maybe there was a little downtime, especially if I thought my questions were things that other people already knew, like just something that I technically could just Google, but I didn't have like my phone on me or things like that. So, for example, what's the difference between a rifle and a shotgun? I feel like didn't really want to ask that in front of everybody, but then I asked on my own time. But I asked. And then I tried. I tried again and again and again, especially with the practical holding the gun. I made a lot of mistakes in that class. A lot of mistakes. However, I passed the test because I knew that this class was for learning. So it's okay if I make mistakes there. I'm not going to pretend like I'm okay and then go and make those mistakes in the exam because I'm not ready for it. Because every time that I think I'm like, okay, just like whatever, I'll figure it out after. And then I see this exact same situation in an exam and then I panic and then I don't do it well. No, I'm going to lay out all my mistakes in that class. And I did. Again, a lot of times. So I kind of had to be walked through a lot. Okay, I understood this one, but then what exactly you're talking about the release? What exactly does this do? So you're moving it up and then back and then front again and down. Like, at what point does it feed the bullet out into the gun? At what point does it um, expel maybe the ammo? Like, what exactly does it do? At which I'm somebody who, when it comes to learning, I think I'm pretty methodical and I have to know, I have to understand it. If it doesn't make sense to me, like I need the puzzle pieces to click and to match. So I was just trying, and again, on different types of like the actions. Like I tried on the pump action and then on the bolt action, and then I tried on all of them. By the end of the class, I think the semi-automatic was the one that I was still a little nervous about, but there was no time to practice anymore. But I think I heard somebody else also say, yeah, that one's like a tough one. Like I still don't grasp it, but I was able to like, I know I would be able to like make it work. I might just make a mistake or two. But I gained more and more confidence as I tried, as it started to click, as the puzzle pieces came together, and it was amazing. But let me tell you something. Throughout this whole day, I told you everything that went through my mind. I mean, at least most of it that I can remember right now. There was no point during that day where I said something like, that was dumb of me. Oh, I feel so stupid. Or anything negative towards my abilities and my character. Not once. I will not allow myself to speak like this about myself in front of anybody. I don't care how much they think, how much even they might think that was a dumb question or that was like, why did she ask me that? That was so easy. I don't care. I'm not going to be somebody who's going to say, oh, well, that was dumb of me or I'm so stupid. I used to say it. I used to say it to just kind of make it a joke. Not anymore. I'm not going to say it. I'm also not going to allow somebody else to tell me you're so stupid or you're so dumb, even as a joke. No, thank you. So, for me, that's very important because I keep telling myself I can do it. I keep telling myself it's okay to be a beginner in something. It's okay to not know things. I don't have to label myself as anything negative. Maybe a beginner. Yeah, but th- that's it. Like, not because you know something and I don't means that I'm like insert any word that you can think of. Because on the other hand, when I know something and you don't, I don't put you down, and I try not to allow yourself to put you down. I don't like when people are also saying I'm so dumb or things like that. So definitely I'm not going to be saying that about me, and I'm not going to be allowing other people to say that about me. So that was very important too to mention. So again, two things. One, you have to go through that discomfort to get out on the other end, just rising like a phoenix, or just on fire, completely on fire, but in a good way. I guess that works. If you're walking through the fire, you're gonna end up out of it like on fire, but then in that case, it's in a great way. Like you're doing great. And then another thing is you can have those automatic negative thoughts. You can try to kill them sometimes. Maybe it might work by giving yourself those proof of you. For example, those things of I can't do it. Reminding myself of the number of times where I could do it. That's proof. That's allowing me to kill those ants, those automatic negative thoughts. Or even if I can't, but just have some boundaries for yourself. Some things that you're just not going to say about yourself. Again, things like, I'm dumb. No, don't say that. So now, and like some quick other things that I kind of took away, besides what I already talked about, obviously. For the next course, for the restricted course, I'm going to prep better just because I know that that could help me be less uncomfortable on that day. I feel like I could still not prep and go there and still pass. And also before I get there, I pass the written test with a 94% and the practical with a 96%. That's important for me to say because I keep saying about how I knew nothing. And then I actually went there. So I made lots of mistakes during that class, but when actually was time to be tested on it, I had already learned from all my mistakes that I made that the same things showed up, but now I knew how to do it. So the practical was 96%. There was only one thing that I messed up, or I didn't know, I guess. I'm not even going to say mess up, but I didn't know. I did it wrong. But yeah, so there, I'm super proud of myself. I had to get an 80% or higher. I got 94 written and 96 practical. That was great. Um, but yeah, for the next time, for the restricted course, I'm going to prep better. I'm going to pre-read. You have the material. You can read it already. The things that left me still a little bit uncomfortable from this specific course, I'm going to learn about. I already did actually. I already went and researched after. So I already have a lot better knowledge even after. For example, one big thing was, oh, what even is the term? I can't remember now for some reason. Ah, that's like my book is right here. I could definitely have gone and get it. Oh, choke. That's what it is. The choke, like the full choke, the modified choke, or the improved choke, or things like that. But and you might not know, you might not have any idea what I'm talking about, or you might know exactly what I'm talking about. But yeah, so like this one, it didn't click. That was one of the mistakes I made on the written as well. It just, and again, that's what I mean. For me, when it doesn't click before I go into the exam, I'm gonna go there and I'm gonna see that thing, and then I'm not gonna know what to do because I didn't take the time to ask questions basically about it. But yeah, then after that course, I didn't say, okay, that's done now. No, whatever I had to learn, because my dad has always told me, or maybe he told me once and I just remembered it, but he told me at least once to not learn for exams, but to learn for knowledge. And he was telling me that maybe when I was in like grade school, like maybe primary school or secondary school, I don't remember. But I what I remember is just the saying. And I always go according to this. I don't learn for an exam, I learn for knowledge. So even if I didn't know it for that exam, it's important to know, which is why they taught it. So I'm going to learn it and I'm going to have that knowledge. And that's also why I think I do well in general, because I'm not just learning to kind of throw it up on the piece of paper there. I actually want to understand, which is also why I really need to understand. But yeah, so, and it also taught me that I'm ready to go through that discomfort again. It taught me that it's okay to feel that way when you're not ready. I mean, like when you haven't done something, when it's new to you, it's normal to feel scared. Next time it's gonna something bigger is gonna happen or something different, and I'm gonna go through the same feelings again. I'm scared, I can't do this, this is too much, this is overwhelming. But I'm gonna remember this additional thing that I did that I didn't think I could do. And let me tell you, if I did not get it this time, I would do it again. If I had not passed the course with an 80% at least, I would go next time. I would know what to do better, and then I would do it again. It wasn't, oh, okay, I didn't get it, but I'll just give up. Nope. But while I was there, I didn't keep telling myself that okay, I'll just do it again. I'll just do it again. No. While I was there, I told myself I got this throughout. Even before I was the last one to go for the practical, so I had plenty of time to stress. But nope, I decided to. I just talked to somebody else, the invigilator or the person who was I think it's still called invigilator here, but the examiner, I guess. I don't know. The person who was kind of like looking after us while the other two instructors were doing the practical. But yeah, just making sure we're not cheating and things like that. But anyway, everybody else was done with their exams, so then they said we could talk now. So then I was just asking her, and this one was also a her, but she came at the very end, so I didn't know that at first. But anyway, then I asked her about resources. I asked her about different ranges, memberships, guns. We talked about safety at home. We talked about a lot of things, safety on the roads, the laws, just everything. But I didn't give myself that much time to just keep getting more and more stressed. Obviously, the nervousness was there, but every time I felt it, I kept telling myself, I can do this. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna crush it. And I walked in there confident. Again, still a little nervous, but confident. Yep, that was kind of it for today. So I guess there are only two, maybe there are a couple takeaways, but the two main ones, and I've said it again, I've reiterated this a lot of times, but one, you really have to. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's fine. Just still do it. Like do it scared. You're scared, do it scared. You're not ready, do it unready. I don't even know. Do it now, do it scared, do it however you are, because it's going to get better as you're doing it. But if you're just sitting there in that state of not being ready, how are you going to get ready for it? I'm not really sure. There's only so much planning you have to do for most things. And I'm not saying don't plan. I'm big on planning too. But if you're the only thing you're doing is planning, you're not making progress. So yeah, that was the episode. Let me know if you liked it. The whole day, one of the things I was thinking is that I could very well kind of make an episode about that and talk about it, because a lot of feelings went through me that day, and I thought it would be great to share. And immediately this idea of getting out of your comfort zone appealed to me to make a video about it. But yeah, now I can handle guns safely. Now I'm even more passionate about learning to shoot. Again, I'm gonna go to the shooting range this weekend. I can't wait for January to do my restricted courses and then apply for directly for the restricted license. And then, yeah, maybe taking target shooting as a hobby. I'm very excited, but all of this was achieved because I was able to step out of my comfort zone, and I do it all the time. I love challenges, to be honest. I do it all the freaking time. That's it. Thank you very much for listening to this episode today. If you like my podcast so far, please give me a 5-star rating and share it with your friends and family who might also like it. Once again, thank you very much, and I'll see you next time. Bye.